What's up guys, today we're checking out a new air cooler, well relatively new. This is the APNX AP1-V ARGB air cooler from APNX. So massive thank you to them for sending this over for review. I have their case as well, and this will be used in that build eventually, coming soon. So today we're going to have a look at this, unbox it, have a look at the specs of it, and then we're going to get it installed and we'll see how well it cools my 5900X. So stay tuned guys. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and like this video if you like it, and leave me any comments. So let's go on with it. So as mentioned at the beginning, this is the APNX AP1-V ARGB, and this one is the black cooler, and they do it in a white as well. Obviously, as it states, it's an ARGB cooler, so it's got an RGB fan in it. It's a tower cooler. Let's have a quick look at the specs before we get into the box. So yeah, model number, we've already talked about that. It's aluminium, heat pipes, it's got 5 and it's 6mm in diameter. Dimensions for obviously case compatibility, 128 by 92 by 157 tall, so it should fit a lot of cases, to be honest. TDP, it's designed for up to 245 watt thermal design power, and in terms of sockets that support it, it's LGA 1700, 1200, 1150 series, and AM4 and AM5, so pretty much all the stuff you need for today's builds. Base material is aluminium block with heat core touch technology. We'll have a look at that in a second. The fan on it is a standard 120mm fan, and the fan speed goes from 600 to 1800. It's a standard 3-pin ARGB, a 4-pin PWM, sorry, and air pressure is 3.36 H2O and airflow is 76.3, and the noise is up to 32.8. We'll test the noise of that later on. With a hydro bearing and 80,000 mean time to failure. That's obviously everything that you need to know about it. Just a quick talk about this. The features: one-piece aluminium frame, high performance, 5 heat pipes, easy installation without disassembling the fan, so you can install it without taking the fan off, which is nice, and it's fully compatible with tall RAM, so it shouldn't go over the top of your RAM. It's going to go in the system with some Team Force Delta RGB, which is relatively tall RAM, so we'll be able to see how that performs, how that works today as well. So let's get into the box and have a look. So opening the box, we get a little manual, instruction manual. It looks relatively well laid out and how to install it, so should be pretty easy to use, hopefully. And then we'll get the accessory box out. We'll have a quick look in there. There's not normally a lot to talk about in here, but we'll have a quick look. It's just all your mounting hardware in there for your AMD and your Intel. Everything's included in there. And you get a small tube of APNX's own TGP1 thermal paste. We'll use that in there today. So that's all you really need to know about that. There's not really much point of showing you any more of those. It's just installation hardware. And then let's get the cooler out itself. As you can see, this is the cooler. It's actually a really big cooler. I thought it'd be a bit smaller than this, to be honest with you, but it looks really, really chunky, and looks really, really nice, I think, anyway. So it's all black, sort of matte black, with a sort of polished aluminium around the outside there. It's all aluminium construction. This whole piece around here is aluminium, obviously, as well as the heatsink inside. So you can't really see much of the heatsink from that side. Turn it over and you can see the heatsink there. Decent fin density. Not really much more to show you on that. Obviously, like I said, that's an ARGB fan. It's hub lit, and it has 9 blades, and according to the stats, it's got really high static pressure. So we'll see how that performs. As mentioned, PWM ARGB with a pass-through. Standard stuff, really. It is direct touch heat pipes. Not many companies seem to use that anymore, but they've used this on this one. I think it's generally considered that the non-direct touch are actually better, but we'll see how well it performs anyway. And then obviously you've got your mounting points. As stated before, you can do it without removing the RAM. Without removing the fan, should I say, not the RAM. Hopefully without removing the RAM as well. And then you've got your 5 heat pipes there. So there's not really much more to talk about on that. Looks absolutely lovely. APNX branding on the top there, very, very subtle. An APNX sort of logo in the middle of the fan, which again looks very, very nice, sort of shiny black. So that's it guys, let's get it installed and see how well it performs. Right, so we've got it installed. I've shown you a bit of B-roll. I'll probably put a little bit in whilst I'm talking as well, so it's not as boring as just looking at me. So we've got it installed, we've had a look at it, and you've obviously seen what it looks like. And so we need to talk about performance. First of all, let's talk about what it looks like as well. Personally, I think it looks lovely. I love the big chunky aluminium surround on it with a sort of polished edge on it. The RGB looks really, really good. It's diffused really, really well. There's no hot spots in there at all to see. And personally, I think it looks absolutely lovely. Like I say, it is available in white as well. So if you look on their website, you'll see it in white. If you're obviously doing a full white build, then it's going to look absolutely lovely in there as well. But the APNX AP1-V, in my eyes, looks brilliant. So it's obviously up to you whether you like it or not. It's not going to be to everyone's taste, but it is sort of quite a chunky tall cooler, but it's really slim, so it fits nicely around your RAM and stuff like that. I had literally no problems with it whatsoever. Other than that, one thing I didn't particularly like was the installations, for AMD anyway. Basically, only because the plate you put on, it doesn't. You're not putting the bolts through holes, you're just putting them in like a slot, so it's hard to sort of hold in the same place and get it in at the same time. However, that's going to be different if you're doing it on a new build and you've got your case, you've got your motherboard laid down. Much easier. Obviously, I'm doing it in a case that's already built, so it makes it a little bit more difficult. So, but it's not a big thing at all. It's not difficult. It's just a little bit fiddly and annoying for me, anyway. So let's talk about performance. Is it actually any good? Does it perform? Like I say, it is just an air tower cooler. It's a single tower, 5 heat pipes at 6mm. So it's obviously not the biggest cooler. It's not the most heat pipes that you see. It's direct touch. So you're not going to be expecting it to compete with your Dark Rock 5s and your Noctuas and things like that. It's not going to be up there, but it's obviously not that kind of price either. I believe it's around £35 here in the UK at the moment, which is quite a competitive price, and there's quite a lot in that price range, so it has to perform relatively well, but it is still on more of the budget end really of an air cooler these days. So anyway, let's talk about the performance. So idle 36 degrees, it was sat at around there, jumping up and down a little bit, but it was around 36 degrees for most of it. This is running the fans at 100%. And then we did Cinebench for 10 minutes, and we did a game to give you more of a real world scenario. We did Cyberpunk 2077 at 1080p Ultra with DLSS on performance, to try and push the CPU a little bit harder. So Cinebench, which is not really a real world situation, it's worst case scenario. The maximum temperature we got over the 10-minute run was 75 degrees and the average was 73, so it pretty much got to 75 and sat there for the whole time pretty much. So 73 obviously is taking into account the lowest it was as it started. And the ambient temperature in here was 18.9. They'll be on the graph for you to see the comparison between over ambient and obviously the actual figures given. Then we went on to Cyberpunk 2077. Like I say, we ran the benchmark 1080p Ultra settings with DLSS on performance to see what happens, to give you, like I say, a more real-world idea of how it performs. And the maximum we had there was 65 degrees. That was quite a spike, to be honest with you, right at the start, and then it averaged out at 59, so it kind of dropped down to all the way down to sort of 57. During the test around there, and brought the average down to 59 to give you an idea of the actual temperatures you were getting. And the temperature in here had gone up a little bit as well. It was 19.8 degrees ambient in here, and again that's on the graph for you to see. Lastly, let's talk about the noise of it. So we tested 100, 75 and 50% of the fan speed to see the noise of it, see how loud it is, and I'll basically put those up after I've given you the figures. I'll put those up on the screen with a sort of noise test, so you can actually hear what that sounds like, because the figures obviously not as useful as actually hearing what it sounds like. So 100% it's 56 decibels dBA, 75% was 51 and 50% was 48, and so now I'll go into and you can have a listen to what they sound like. 100%. 75%. 50%.
50%.
So as you can see, it's not the most noisy cooler out there. It's not the quietest either, but it's decent. And this is obviously with it really close to the cooler and the case off, the side panel off as well. So it'll be much quieter, but obviously it depends on your case as to how well it dampens that sound out. So that's it, guys. Really, really nice cooler. Performs relatively well. It's got some stiff competition around there. It's got sort of your Cooler Master Hyper 212, which is still like a loved cooler that people seem to use quite a lot. And it's got things like your thermal rights, which are big chunky coolers and not much more expensive. So it has got quite a lot of competition. But if you're looking for something that looks a little bit unique and really, really classy and stylish in my eyes, then this is a lovely cooler to go for. And I can't really fault it anything other than that, to be honest with you. Other than that, I said with that little bit with the installation, I can't fault it at all. It does a decent job. This is a 5900X 12-core, 24-thread CPU with PBO on auto, so it is going to push quite a lot of heat. And it's did a stand-up job, no throttling whatsoever, and yeah, performed really well. So that's it, guys. Thank you for watching. If you haven't already subscribed, please don't forget to subscribe. If you want to, obviously, hit that like or dislike, depending on how you feel about this video, and leave me any comments in the comment section below, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon. Goodbye.